Welcome to Down the Road. If you took in the show yesterday, you saw that Jim Shaw was sitting in this chair. Jim, longtime columnist, longtime reporter, and news director when it comes to television broadcasts here in the Fargo-Moorhead area. And so I want to thank him. I want to thank him for doing the show for me. There's going to be some of that. There's going to be, I do a radio show, and that radio show puts me on the road. And, and so there's going to be substitute hosts every now and then, and hopefully there's going to be some remote shows from me every now and then. We'd love to have that opportunity to do just that. On today's show, we're going to get a chance to visit with Tim Mathern. Now, Tim Mathern is one of those individuals that when I think about Tim, I think of one of the most honest and decent people that I've ever had an opportunity to serve in the legislature with. Tim is just... he's a great guy, and he does things in a way that is for the good of all and not for the good of himself, and I love that about Tim Mathern. Dr. Megan Ranney is with us. She is, okay, let me explain this, and she's going to get mad if I say it because I've had an opportunity to speak to her before, but she's earned it, okay? This is a woman that graduated Harvard summa cum laude, and now she works at Brown. So she's someone I probably would have peeked over her shoulder back in class to stay eligible for football. Megan, good to have you coming down the road with us. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Honored to be here.
Yeah. There. I don't feel guilty. I just want you to say that. Okay? You've earned that. So I want to talk to you a little bit about something that geographically is different no matter where you go in this country. And that's guns and violence that involves guns. I know this is an area of study for you. I know this is something that you're taking a look at to make sure that all people understand. Talk to me about this. Visit with me a little bit about the study that you're doing.
Yeah, Joel, it's totally a delight to be here with you today. I think really the underlying concept behind everything that I do around firearm injury is starting from the point that firearms are an integral part of our American culture. And so to me, the goal is to approach firearm injury as a health problem, the same way that I talk about car crashes or pool drownings or any other sort of injury or infection that happens. And the approach that I take is one of prevention. So it's saying, given that many of us across the country own firearms or have them in our houses, what can we do to decrease the risk of injury or death among ourselves and our loved ones? And I know most firearm owners hold gun safety as a core precept. Many undergo extensive training to make sure that we handle our firearm safely, and that's part one. But part two is being aware of some of those risks. If we have a loved one in our house who's feeling a little depressed or down, knowing that they're at higher risk of hurting themselves if they have access to our firearm. Same thing if someone's a victim of domestic violence or, God forbid, is having thoughts about hurting someone else. So it's just really shifting the way that we approach firearm injury is the key part of what I do.
See, I think we in the Midwest where we're all around guns. I mean, I've got 22 guns, most of them for hunting, most, for sporting clay, that type of thing, if I count my Red Ryder BB gun that I got as a little kid. I mean, and, a lot of people are going to say, why? Why do you need that many? You know what? I don't. Some of them I collected through the years because they remind me of my dad. Some of them I won at a Pheasants Forever banquet, for example, but I have them. And so it's part of our culture here in the Midwest. Do you think that we're in denial, that we don't realize, we assume that all gun violence is in the metro areas and on the East and the West Coast? Do you think that we, in the middle of this country, where we very much are in the heart and soul of gun culture, do you think we're in denial?
So I don't think you're in denial, but I think that the way that gun violence has been defined by the media has left out a huge part of what firearm injury and deaths are. So 2/3 of gun deaths in this country, Joel, are not homicides, which, yes, primarily happen in cities. Rather, they're suicides, which are just as much a part of firearm injury and death as those homicides are. When you actually look at the states that have the highest rates of gun death in the country, it's Montana, Alaska, Missouri, Alabama, Louisiana. It is not Illinois, right? Everybody talks about Chicago. It's not Illinois. It's not LA. It's actually the more rural areas. And that's largely because when you have easy access to a firearm and you're thinking about hurting yourself, when you're feeling despondent or down, it becomes an easy thing to go to. And then it's unfortunately all too easy to take your own life.
So, are you taking a look at how you fix that? Are you taking a look at how, I mean, one of the recent examples of mass murder that happened, the family tried to take the guns away from an individual that was struggling mentally. I mean, have you taken a look at how we can fix this?
Yeah, isn't that just tragic that the family recognized that this kid was at risk and yet they couldn't stop him? They did their very best. They thought that they'd done what needed to be done. And it turned out that it wasn't enough, that the steps weren't fully followed through, and the kid was able to purchase those long guns nonetheless, despite his own family knowing that he was high risk for suicide by cop or for killing himself or others. And so I think that that is the key part, and that is the research that I'm doing. So part one is just getting us to talk about it. So taking away the fear of talking about firearm injury is something that does affect all of us. We can talk about it without saying that we're going to be taking away people's guns. We can talk about it in a way that recognizes and respects our heritage in this country. So that's part one. And then part two is helping us all to identify risk and have something to do. And I think that Indiana case is one that hopefully will drive change. If we can help to make progress in Indiana, which as we all know is a very purple state, with very high rates of firearm ownership, and Governor Holcomb and his wife are strong defenders of the Second Amendment. My hope is that will drive us to have less partisan conversations about what we can do to identify and do something about risk. Because most of us know, right? If you have a friend or family member, you're like, something's off, you recognize it. You just don't know what to do about it. And so that is a big part of my research is first, how do you recognize it? And then what can you do?
So what if I argued it won't? That when it comes to Indiana, it's one of those it'll go away kind of strategies when it comes to the NRA, which is ignore it, pivot, claim Second Amendment, claim they're coming for your guns when it means all your guns. When we had the last assault weapons ban, that assault weapons ban didn't take guns from anyone here in North Dakota. There were two triggers that had to happen. This had to happen, then that had to happen, one of which was a grenade launcher. Now, I don't know too many guys that own a grenade launcher. And so if you're the NRA, you convince people that are riding around with that shotgun or that 22 in their pickup that I know as friends, and quite frankly, I do. You convince them that they're coming for your guns. And that's all they have to do in Indiana. And the popular political position that gets you votes is to stick up for gun owners. How do you, my suspicion is, Doc, is that's going to happen in Indiana.
I would not be surprised if that does happen, but here's the thing is that we know that change doesn't come quickly. And what I have seen, Joel, over the last decade plus that I've been working on this is I have seen us start to shift the way that we talk about this. I've been creating more and more collaborations with gun owners, with firearm experts, with gun ranges, with gun owner groups, including law enforcement agencies, groups of African-American gun owners, with 4-H and with many other organizations, and that stand very firmly for Second Amendment rights, but also recognize that if we want to protect Second Amendment rights, we have to take safety seriously. And so if we do want to protect gun rights, it's about making sure that we stand up for what gun rights look like and what safe gun ownership looks like. It is not going to happen overnight, but I do see shifts in those partnerships and in these discussions. And I think it's on all of us to say, yes, I can be a firearm owner and be public health minded and talk about how I identify risk and address it. But I do think you're right. I would wish that it would happen tomorrow in Indiana. I don't think it will, but hopefully it will start a discussion. And it's on all of us to not let that discussion dribble away just because the NRA or others decide to try to block it.
So I have to ask you this, Megan, because you're doing a study on it, and you're not, in my visiting with you, before, you're not anti-gun. It definitely comes across that you just want a discussion about it. So do you think that the people that might be anti-gun or for stricter gun control, do you think they understand the weapon itself? Do you think they understand the gun? Because I'll give an example of what I'm getting at. My 17 mm, I call it my muskrat gun. Okay, that's got a synthetic stock. It's got a big scope on it. It's got all of those things. And if you show it to people, they're going to think it's an assault weapon. That's how they're going to define it. And yet it's not. And so I guess my question is, you know, if they're going to talk about an agenda to bring common sense gun laws in, should they know how the guns operate in the first place?
So I would argue that that's on all of us to know. And I think I've talked to you before. That's part of my, for lack of a better word, it's part of my agenda, right? Is to have this discussion with both sides. So I can go to my universities here in the Northeast and talk about the fact that firearms are not inherently bad things. And believe me, that gets me a lot of side eye, right? There's a lot of folks that do. I will say transparently, there are folks that think that the answer is to quote unquote ban guns. That is not either A, politically sustainable, B, realistic, or C, appropriate. And so my goal is to bring those folks a little bit further along, right? To shift their thinking a little bit, to share with them. I've done talks. I have a friend who's a physician in rural Oregon, and she and I give talks together, and she talks about how she has 3 safes of firearms in her garage, how she lives 3 hours away from any police, and she has to have a firearm to protect herself because there is no other option. And as a physician who's treated patients who are mentally unstable, she never knows who's going to come to her door, right? And so I give a talk with her, and then physicians come up to me afterwards and say, I never thought about it that way, right? I've had people come up to me a year later and say that they'd never really understood those reasons for firearm ownership and that we can open their eyes. We also have done trainings at the range for physicians and for other healthcare professionals to start to familiarize them with the mechanics of guns. And I will say in full disclosure, I am not a firearm owner. I was pretty naive. I am trying to learn. I am not an expert, which is where I need to partner with experts, is that I'm constantly learning. And it's a spirit of appreciation and inquiry rather than one of judgment. And so, long answer to your question, but yeah, I think that understanding the basic mechanics is critically important.
See, I don't think it was a long answer. I think it was an honest answer. I really do. In terms of, to me, you're the perfect example. Somebody willing to take a look at all sides of it that isn't a gun owner, but yet not afraid to be around a gun and willing to learn more about it. And I will tell you this. There are individuals that I live right next to that when they look at the Second Amendment, I think they're far too strict when it comes to the Second Amendment. I don't think common sense gun laws are a bad thing. I don't. I think that when an individual goes to Shields, for example, they can wait a day or they can wait 2 days. And if you weren't ready enough to go buy that rifle before deer season, then you weren't ready in the first place. So, Doctor, I look forward to seeing your work. I look forward to seeing what you came up with, and I do appreciate you willing to have a conversation about it.
Well, vice versa. I think this is our only way forward, and I really appreciate the opportunity. So thank you for having me on.
When we come back, North Dakota State Senator Tim Mathern, right after this.
Howdy folks, it's a Caroline Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Bossin' breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar, sink your teeth into our famous Caroline burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spur rattling pie with a cum roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Hi, it's me, Anthony Sullivan. And yes, you've actually caught me at home relaxing because life's been pretty worry-free since I got coverage with American Residential Warranty.
You won't believe what ARW covers. Heating and air conditioning, washers and dryers, kitchen appliances, plumbing, water heaters, electrical systems, flat screens and laptops, even pools and spas, and so much more.
Call American Residential Warranty. They'll get you covered.
1-800-219-1467.
Hi, Hunter Ellis here for Night Hero Binoculars by Atomic Beam. These binoculars let you see anything, even in pitch black darkness. Gotcha.
The secrets are powerful wide-angle atomic beam laser,
that reveals objects up to 150 yards away, hidden by darkness. During the day, Night Hero gives you 10 times magnification. And when the sun goes down, press the Night Bright button to see clearly in the dark. Light up garbage-eating critters or spot thieves before they even get close. Call or click now and get Night Hero binoculars for just $39.99. Order right now and you can double it. Plus, get our best-selling atomic beam flashlight. Just pay a separate fee. We'll even ship them to you free. This TV special offer is not available on Amazon. You can get it all, but you have to order now.
Call 1-800-619-1091. That's 1-800-619-1091. Or visit bynighthero.com. That's bynighthero.com. Order now.
Attention! Have you or a loved one suffered from maculopathy, a serious retinal injury, after taking the prescription drug Almiron for interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome? In 2018, a researcher at the Emory School of Medicine linked Almiron, a prescription drug that treats interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome, to maculopathy, which is sight-threatening and can cause an abrupt change of vision. Call Almiron Justice for a free legal consultation.
Please call 800-395-5680.
Non-attorney spokesperson. This is a paid advertisement for legal services sponsored by Nightline Legal. Cases assigned on a random basis to participating law firms. This drug remains approved by the FDA. If you or a loved one regularly took Zantac and were later diagnosed with cancer, call right now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. Potential cancers include bladder cancer, colon cancer, kidney cancer, stomach cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer. Do not stop taking a prescribed medication without first consulting with your doctor. Discontinuing a prescribed medication without your doctor's advice can result in injury or death.
Call 1-800-230-9210.
Welcome back to Down the Road. You know, this is one of those conversations where you don't know what to ask because Tim Mathern and I could spend about 2 hours right here on TV together. He's a state senator from Fargo, North Dakota, but he grew up in the Edgeley-Culm area, so he knows what it's like to be and be a part of a big family in a rural area. And I want to bring him in. Senator Mathern, good to have you coming down the road with us. Appreciate it.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for having me, and I miss you in the Senate.
You know, the light's there, the end of the tunnel. You can see it. How does it feel to know that pretty soon you're going to be sine die?
Well, it feels good other than we're taking the day off tomorrow. And we shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
When you were in the Senate, when the Democrats were in control, we worked in the last week. We worked evenings. We worked weekends. They're taking tomorrow off. You know what's going to happen? People are going to come back Monday and say, oh, gosh, I didn't know we wanted to do that. And my uncle said this, and my lobbyist back home said this. And so we'll start all over again Monday.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing that people got to keep in mind. I used to call it the $350,000 issue. I don't know. That number's got to be higher now with gas prices higher, but it costs $350,000 a day to have the legislature in session. And so if you can get the job done on the weekend to finish it up, because they're going to get paid on the weekend anyway, right, Senator?
You got it. And the evenings we could have been working. We've not been working weekends. And it's a whole new environment. It's like people aren't concerned about it. And these people will say that they're conservative. They want to save money, that are controlling the legislature. It's just not the case.
Yeah.
I don't know when their citizens are going to find out that what they're sold in the voting booth process is not what's being delivered here.
You know, I had that conversation with Ed Schaefer. I did, and Ed was perfectly clear. You know what a fiscal conservative he was. He was willing to talk about social issues with people like you and I and futuristic business opportunities like you and I, but sure. he was fiscally conservative. And he looks at what's happened with this state budget, and he knows that you're never going to rein that in, what they've done. And so any one of the majority, the GOP, who looks at either one of us and says, we're keeping a tight line on that budget, I think it's fair for both of us to use a word that we can't use on TV, Tim.
Yeah. You know, we've got, you know, we used to have one bill with kind of a Christmas tree orientation, tack on this, tack on that for the end. Now we got 2 or 3 of them. And there's all kinds of money being spent. You know, a lot of it's from Trump. And now I think we're going to have a special session this summer before redistricting to spend a lot more.
I want to bring that up because if I'm Doug Burgum, I'm the first governor in my lifetime that gave away a lot of the budgeting, that gave away a lot of the control of the money. And you saw it, well, just play out in the last couple days. I mean, there's been some controversial bills that are there where normally the Senate would have been the common sense check on that. That's not the case anymore. That's not the case anymore whatsoever. So you got a supermajority in the House, you got a supermajority in the Senate. They don't even like each other. You can see it. They're holding town meetings in double secret. This weekend, it's going to happen at the Frying Pan in Wahpeton. There's going to be a meeting on how they can get rid of, and it's going to be led by Jason Heitkamp. How he doesn't know, I know, but it's going to be led. He does now. It's going to be led on how they can get rid of Cindy Schreiber Beck because she's too liberal as a Republican in Wahpeton. Tim, that's happening all over the place.
It's all over the place, and it's reflective, I believe, on the citizens have really been re-educated during the Trump years, and their long-term consequences. And what we used to see in the House is now in the Senate, and the citizens just got to take back control of their government. And at this point, it's talk this way and act this way. That's what's going on.
I had that in my notes about how, you know, the Senate used to be this very deliberate body that when foolishness came over to it, you could visit with certain people in the Senate. But now, because of just what you said, because of this Trump era and the fear of the voting public out there that will do anything, they'll jump off a cliff for Donald Trump, that those people who truly support him will go after the common sense folks. I mean, I saw a study that basically took a look at family leave. I saw Ray Holmberg, Karen Kresbaugh, and Rich Wardner, 3 common sense normal senators, vote against that study. That was a study, and they voted against it. Now that tells me those 3 are either never going to run again, or they completely changed their feathers. I mean, what is happening?
Well, you know, there's a bumper sticker going around out here. It's called Coal, Guns, Freedom. It's all been simplified to those 3 things, and we're putting millions and millions and millions of dollars into saving coal industry when the market doesn't want to buy it anymore. And I don't know how many bills we've passed in guns. I guess all children should have guns now, and all adults, and get them where you can and shoot them where you can, and freedom. We all love freedom. And we just hide so many things beyond that term freedom. I guess Senator Dotson-Rod, who was defeated, he's probably got the right idea. Just put a car out in a parade and write freedom on it. And that's the way we can win an election again as a Democrat.
Yeah. I was sitting there looking at pieces of legislation, and recently, you know, there was a piece of legislation, and this is Senator Dotson-Rod's old district, who, by the way, is my old district. Both of us served in the state Senate in that district, and that piece of legislation said we will provide health insurance to the family of a fallen police officer. And what you saw was my district, which used to have a Democratic delegation, House and Senate, my district voted unanimously against that. In fact, I think my senator was one of either a handful or 2 or something like that. And 3, was it? and they voted to get rid of that help. And then, Tim, you know this, by some great reporting and some work by our party, the MNPL, and by the Fargo Forum putting it out there, you know that one of my state House members, Kathy Scraw, rushed into the Great Hall to be in the picture to celebrate the signing of the bill. I mean, how do you rectify that? How do you justify that? That's so arrogant, and it's such a lie.
Yeah, and I've come to try to think more about our citizens. We have to be a little bit careful about pointing out all these individual legislators who are making all these incorrect decisions. They were sent here by the citizens. And I'm getting more and more concerned about that some way I have to communicate more directly with citizens, and we got to get all of our groups to do more of that with the citizens. And I know your talk radio and all that really helps to get the citizens involved. And so I appreciate that example, and we need to push it on to the citizens so they know what's going on here.
I have to ask you, the chasm between Doug Burgum and his Republican majority, how wide is it?
Well, frankly, I've been here a few years, and it's a huge chasm. But when push comes to shove, they huddle, and they make sure Republicans are winning elections. And there's a big difference. But at the end, they think being Republican is more important than any issue. So there's a chasm, but they cross it when it comes against electing, somebody Democrat.
Wow. Senator, I could, like I said, I started this by saying I could do this all day with you. I want to say this. Thank you for serving. Thank you so much for serving. You're not making money at it, and you're probably eating SpaghettiOs out of a can, apparently. but thank you for serving.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and I appreciate everything that is done in the realm of journalism that you're in. That's our only hope. We need to get the word out, and so thank you for what you're doing.
You bet.
Have a good day.
He's one of the good ones, ladies and gentlemen, and one of the ones with the best heart you can possibly find. We're going to talk about Doug Burgum's vetoes when we come back here down the road.
Hey everybody, I'm Doug Billings, your host of The Right Side with Doug Billings on Beck News. We bring you high-profile guests, ladies and gentlemen, exclusive guests. Now, you're not going to see these guests in most of the mainstream media outlets. Another thing that I do here is give guests a platform to speak freely. You're not going to see me censor anybody. Please join us, won't you? Weeknights right here on Beck TV and online at beck.news. Cheers.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream sheets. When you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Introducing the Cool Turtle, the ultra-comfortable mask enhancer that creates a protective, cool, and breathable space between your mask and your face. Simply slide under any mask or gaiter and immediately feel the refreshing pocket of air surrounding your face. Cool Turtle's ergonomically designed, soft, comfortable shell immediately reduces mask friction, allowing you to breathe and talk in a comfortable environment.
I can actually breathe. With the Cool Turtle, no more sweating.
It's like I don't even have a mask on.
Call now and get not one, not two, but 3 Cool Turtles for just $10. Order now and we'll send you 2 more Cool Turtles free. No fees, absolutely free. Plus, you can get a 10-pack of 4-ply face masks. Just pay a separate fee. This offer is not available on Amazon. Get the real Cool Turtle now.
Call 1-800-270-1219. That's 1-800-270-1219. Or visit getcoolturtle.com. Order now.
Indoor football is back in Bismarck. Bucks football season is right around the corner. Grab a friend or family member for a night of action-packed, hard-hitting entertainment. The Bucks open at the Bismarck Event Center May 8th as they take on the Massachusetts Pirates. Catch the sweetest seats in the house right on the sidelines with VIP service at a Bucks turf table. Available now for single game purchases. Secure your tickets today by calling 701-595-0771. Bucks football, half the field and double the fun.
I'm Rick Becker from No Apologies. Welcome to your after-hours oasis of sanity.
How can these people not see that they're just clowns?
We help simplify and educate you on things going on in the legislature and around the country.
Asking the hard-hitting questions.
But also having fun. Stack and Sid and Marty Krofft stuff, and we've talked about that sometimes. It's bad.
Watch us weeknights at 9 Central on Beck News and online at beck.news.
Good to have you still going down the road with us. I want to talk about a couple of things that happened since the last time that we had a chance to visit. The governor vetoed a couple of bills. He vetoed a bill that took away his power to mandate and to send down a dictate that we have to wear masks during a pandemic. The governor used that when North Dakota led the nation in COVID-19. So, he reached a point where he felt that, hey, in North Dakota, to slow this down, because they're stacking up like cordwood in our hospitals, and we're actually taking them to other states to treat, to slow this down, we've got to wear masks. As the CDC and as health professionals said we needed to do to slow it down. I would argue that Governor Burgum didn't keep it on that long. I would argue that Governor Burgum might have and could have went longer. But you got to remember, these are legislators that overrode his veto. They put legislation in, he vetoes it, taking away his power, they overrode it. And so they took that power away, not just from Doug Burgum, but from local mayors. The mayor of Fargo, Mayor Tim Mahoney, put a mask mandate on as well. And when he did that because Fargo was getting slammed. I mean, it was getting slammed. And Fargo was one of the places that all these other counties were going to when they needed help. And so the legislature decided to take that power away. Now, keep this in mind. This is the same legislature that had legislators storm off the floor when they were required to wear a mask. Sebastian Ertl, for example, from Lisbon, Gwinner area, he didn't want to even be on the floor. He just stormed off. There's another one, I forget his name, I think he's from North, that he was wearing a Crown Royal bag on his head. I'm not kidding you. He was wearing a Crown Royal bag and he had it over his ears. Crown Royal bags got those strings, right? And he apparently pulls the cork on a lot of Crown Royal because he had a lot of different colored bags. And so he had that bag on his face. Now, there's a lot of schools, ladies and gentlemen, that we're in. North Dakota did a really good job of keeping their schools in. And, there's a lot of kids that were taking part because North Dakota is very, very good. Legislative Council has set up so that you can view the legislative session. You can view the different committee hearings. And so can you imagine having that sixth grade kid, or in my case, the oldest grandchild I have is in the 4th grade, and the teacher says, all right, let's take a look at the North Dakota Legislature as part of our studies today. And they pull it up and a guy's got a Crown Royal bag on his head. That's how bad it's gotten with the Republican Party. That's how bad it's gotten with the Republican Party. And, he wasn't abusing it, and yet they took his power away. So don't let them tell you they're for local governance. Don't do that. Don't let them. Because they want as much control and as much power themselves as they can get. They didn't want the mayors to have that opportunity. They didn't. And so don't let them tell you they're for local governance. In fact, I can give you many more examples. The other veto that the governor put out was a veto on transgender and their competition in high school athletics. Now, we had this subject come up down the road many times. many times. I pushed for your support to send the governor notice that we're not going to discriminate and we're not going to abuse and we're going to recognize these transgender athletes. Here's the thing, keep in mind. North Dakota hasn't had any cases. You can go to other states and say this example, that example. We have the North Dakota High School Activities Association, and I would have loved to have been on that floor of the Senate again and look at them and ask the persons that were bringing this forward, the Yana Myrdals of the world. I would have loved to have asked her to recite or let me know what North Dakota High School Activities policy is, because she couldn't have. She couldn't have, no different than when she pushed the 10 Commandments bill. She came on my radio show. I asked her to recite the 10 Commandments, and she couldn't. She couldn't. Keep that in mind. She's got a bill in saying this is an educational tool. It needs to be up on the wall in the classrooms, and the 10 Commandments need to be learned, and she didn't know them. Well, I got a tenor that says, you know what? She doesn't know the high school activities policy. I really believe that. And so, you know, Governor Burgum was right to do that. He was right to veto it. I thank the governor for doing that. I think he probably did it more in the line of commerce. You know, we're not going to get events here if that bill would have passed. Now, it almost got overrode in the Senate. If you're just joining us, we had Tim Mathern on with us earlier, state senator from Fargo. If you're still with us, Senator Mathern pointed out how ultra-conservative the Republicans have gotten in the North Dakota Senate. They almost overrode that veto. Now, we had economic leaders that are very conservative all across North Dakota come forward and say, you're going to cost us business. Whether it's a wrestling tournament, whether it's an NCAA hockey regional final, whether it's, all of that. They wouldn't have came. Whether it's a business, a corporation that says, are you kidding me? Why in the world would I want to take my jobs to that state? Why? The governor was right to veto it. He was. And the Senate was wrong, every one of those individuals, to override. The House overwhelmingly overrode, which tells you how deep the well is there. We'll get into the research grants at NDSU another day. And I have to say this, to Dean Brashani, the president of NDSU, why didn't you fight for your staff? Why didn't you? Why in the world wouldn't you fight for those researchers? You want NDSU to be one of the premier research institutions in the nation, and you didn't stick up for your researchers. That's wrong. That's wrong. And again, the loss of any sort of local control by Yana Myrdal. Again. So we won't even get into Kathy Scraw jumping in a photo with the governor so she could say she supported law enforcement when she didn't. I don't even want to mention she's from Ledgewood. All right, I'll give you actually, right after this, we'll get a chance to talk football with Josh Swanson. So stick around.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. I started by using the world's best cotton called Giza. It's only grown in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. My Giza sheets also include full 21-inch wide pillowcases that will fit over any pillow and deep pocket sheets that will fit over any mattress. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Giza Dream Sheets are available in a variety of colors. Use your promo code, and for a limited time, when you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Non-attorney spokesperson. This is a paid advertisement for legal services sponsored by Nightline Legal. Cases assigned on a random basis to participating law firms. This drug remains approved by the FDA. If you or a loved one regularly took Zantac and were later diagnosed with cancer, call right now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. Potential cancers include bladder cancer, colon cancer, kidney cancer, stomach cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer. Do not stop taking a prescribed medication without first consulting with your doctor. Discontinuing a prescribed medication without your doctor's advice can result in injury or death.
Call 1-800-230-9210.
Seniors, are you aware that you could pay less for your car insurance?
Seniors can save money on their car insurance.
You might save a little, you might save a lot.
Maybe hundreds of dollars a year.
You might save 5% a year, maybe 10%, 15%, or even more.
That's a lot of money.
So call right now and find out just how much money you might be able to save.
1-800-699-0761. 1-800-699-0761.
Hi, it's me, Anthony Sullivan. And yes, you've actually caught me at home relaxing because life's been pretty worry-free since I got coverage with American Residential Warranty.
You won't believe what ARW covers. Heating and air conditioning, washers and dryers, kitchen appliances, plumbing, water heaters, electrical systems, flat screens and laptops, even pools and spas, and so much more.
Call American Residential Warranty. They'll get you covered.
1-800-219-1467.
Watch No Filter with me, Debbie Schlussel, for no-nonsense, unfiltered analysis of the news that matters to you. You'll see engaging guests.
It began a 444-day nightmare.
Entertaining analysis. And it has everything to do with something that happened in history. And honest movie reviews. Trust me, this is just atrocious. No Filter with Debbie, weeknights at 10 p.m. Central on Beck News and online at beck.news.
You know, we don't have many more miles to go as we head down the road today, but the one thing that's gotten everybody's attention here in the great state of North Dakota is that our two largest institutions of higher education, the University of North Dakota and North Dakota State University, are both hosting home playoff games at the FCS level. The one go-to guy for me, he understands the game. I think he understands it better than me, and I refereed college football for, 20-some years. But, he knows it inside and out, and that's Josh Swanson, attorney with the Vogel firm. But I'll tell you what, huge Bison fan. Swanee, good to have you on.
It's always great to be on, Joel, and I was ball boying games for the Bison while you were reffing games in the NCC, so it goes back a long ways.
Yeah, I will tell you this, to be a radio host now, to do a blog, to do all of that, you got to be digging it. I mean, you're winning awards as a radio host, so congratulations to you.
It's something a guy I used to work for that named Ed Schultz always said, the sports is a toy department of life. So it's something, you take it seriously, you're passionate about it because you're a fan. But at the end of the day, it's fun stuff we're talking about here, and I absolutely love doing it.
All right, let's break it down, because the team you love the most is going to be in the Fargo Dome. There's only going to be, 4,000 fans there?
4,000 to 5,000 tops. NCAA has a mandate that home sites can't have more than 25%. For the Fargo Dome, that's capped at 5,000, so 4 to 5 come this Saturday.
Okay. I knew that they were using like a quarter of the place that you could have, which I've been in that Fargo Dome doing high school games where there's been 4,000 people. It can still get loud, Swanee.
And it's been loud all season at different times when the Bison are playing well, especially on big third downs. The fans will get into it, but that's one of the big things. We saw it last week when the Bison lost to South Dakota State. If you can take that crowd out of the game, it's much easier for your offense. So that'll be a key this weekend for the Bison to play well early to get that crowd, even if it's only 5,000, into the football game.
I apologize if it's, in fact, I know it's not last year, but when's the last time that the Bison went into the playoffs with 2 losses?
2015, Carson Wentz's senior year. Carson goes down in the 5th game. They lost the season opener at Montana, and then South Dakota upset them at the Fargo Dome. And after that, some guy named Easton Stick comes in, wins 8 straight games, gets the Bison to the title, and here comes Carson Wentz and leads us to a championship win over Jacksonville State back in 2015.
I was at the press conference in Frisco when after Easton Stick did that well, they had still announced Carson Wentz to be the quarterback for the national championship game. And I'm sitting there at the press conference with Mike McFeely from the Forum, and I don't know if Mike and I were working together in radio then. I don't know, but he looked at me and said, "It's Wentz." And I went, "It should be Wentz. It really should have been."
And he came in, he was the MVP of that title game, and he made himself a couple $1 million in the NFL draft with how well he played, showing his wrist was all right after that title game.
Exactly. This game, how did the Bison match up against a team that likes red carpet?
It's a contrast in styles, Joel. You have Eastern Washington led by Eric Berrier, probably the best quarterback in the FCS, throwing for over 350 yards per game, 2,200 yards and 18 touchdown passes. So they like to sling it. What do the Bison like to do? They like to come at you, smash mouth football, run the ball. They're doing so. For as bad as they played last weekend, they're still 200 yards rushing per contest for the Herd, and they're one of the top teams in the country doing it. So it's going to be the ground and pound style from the Bison versus Eastern Washington's track meet offense, and whichever team can do a better job controlling the tempo and their game plan is probably the team that wins.
You know, you've worked sidelines, you've worked pregame, you've worked a lot of different roles when it comes to Bison football, and so you know it, and I know it because I was right there looking at it, right there getting potentially run over by these running backs. The big advantage to me is the fact that this Bison offensive line has that defensive line by what, 30 pounds per man?
30 pounds per guy, and the two starting defensive tackles for Eastern Washington are a freshman and a sophomore. So in addition to being undersized, they're young guys. So NDSU with their 300-pound big boys does have a big advantage on their offensive line versus Eastern's defensive line.
So you can have the greatest offense in the world if you're not on the field. It's not a good day.
Eric Berrier ain't throwing touchdowns if he's on the sideline, and you got to think that's the Bison game plan. Long, sustained drives, and the defense is going to have to do a nice job holding Eastern Washington to those 3 and outs, keeping them in 3rd and long. And we heard Coach Entz talk about that at his press conference this week. Berrier is at his best when he's outside of the pocket, running around making plays. If you can keep him in the pocket, your DNs, keeping that contained, he's much less dangerous. So that'll be a game plan for the Bison. We saw Gronowski from South Dakota State rush for $150 against the Herd. NDSU can't let that happen again this week. If they do, they're going to be in trouble.
How big of a factor is turnover? I mean, this is a foolish question because turnovers in a good playoff game always matter. But, you know, if we're going to sit there and talk about how the Bison need to be on the field, and pretty soon you're sitting there and you know, 2nd down and the ball gets turned over, I mean, how big of a factor are turnovers going to play?
They might be the decisive statistic in the game, and here's why. If you're North Dakota State and you can run the ball and control the clock and keep Eastern Washington off the field, you can limit the number of possessions they have in the game. That means scoring on those possessions is all the more important. If you can get a takeaway or two and take away different opportunities, that shortens the game if you're North Dakota State. But it also, what the Bison haven't been able to do all year is put their offense in a situation where they're on the other team's side of the 50 with the short field after a turnover. If they can do that Saturday, not only are you keeping Berrier off the field, you're giving your offense, which has really struggled outside of the North Dakota game and first half in Missouri State, the Bison have struggled offensively. If you can create some field possession for your offense, that can turn into points, and that'll be big for NDSU.
So I'm sitting there, I'm Eastern Washington. I've been watching the film on the Bison, and I say just what you said, which is I'm going to own them up front. I'm going to be able to run. I'm Eastern Washington. I'm saying, okay, beat me by the pass.
Yep.
My guys are quick. I'm going to put 9, 8 in the box. Every play, we're going to double team. What do you do? I mean, you got to take to the air then if you're the Bison.
NDSU has the best wide receiver and playmaker in the FCS on the outside, and Christian Watson, number 1. You have to get the ball in his hands. And with what you said, Joel, Eastern Washington, I expect, is going to be playing 9 or 10 guys in the box or within 5 yards, 6 yards of that line of scrimmage. Watson should have some one-on-one opportunities. And whether it's Cam Miller or Zeb Nolan, they have to take advantage of those, because if you can connect on a few big plays, all of a sudden those linebackers and D-backs, they have to start playing back and respecting the pass. And if you're North Dakota State, if you can do that, then Eastern Washington's in a lot of trouble because they're going to need all those guys up front to stop the run. But therein is the rub. That's going to decide the football game. NDSU will need to be able to have the threat of the pass. They don't need to throw 30 times. They don't need 300 yards passing, but they have to make Eastern respect the threat.
You know, when I look at the Bison, I look at a series of coaches. I mean, we're about to have at NDSU, the state of North Dakota is about to have 3 quarterbacks from NDSU in the NFL. I mean, that's amazing in and of itself. Alabama would be very happy with that. Agreed?
Any other school in the FBS, any program, Notre Dame, Clemson, Alabama would love that.
Exactly. And so you've got that strength in your program. Eastern Washington, you've got a consistent program. These two teams know each other, you know, year after year after year. I mean, how big of a factor is that?
There is familiarity there. The teams played in 2016, they played in 2017, and they played in 2018 in the national championship game. And obviously there's the 2010 game that Bison fans will still say Jensen didn't fumble the ball. But they do they do know each other, Joel.
He didn't fumble.
He didn't fumble. He did not. That was not a fumble. There's no secret. Eastern Washington's going to want to come in and make it a track meet. North Dakota State is going to want to run the ball. And for NDSU, that defensive front, the defensive line, they had 4 sacks last week against South Dakota State. By and large, the Jacks ran for 305 yards. Yeah. NDSU's defense kept them in that game. It was tied with 7.5 minutes. Now, Eastern Washington, I think they're going to try to move Barrier around. And they got this receiver named Jones, who's 6'5", 220. He's a big kid. NDSU's tallest corners are 6 foot. So I think you're going to see them going downfield to him quite a bit. But that's the contest. There's no secrets. These two teams know what the other one is going to want to do. And whichever team does the better job executing their game plan and controlling the tempo of the game will win.
All right, I'm not going to let you off the hook, and I'm going to play this back. You know, if you're right or wrong, I'm going to tell people what your pick was. What's your pick?
NDSU's got to keep Eastern under 30 and control the tempo. If they do that and protect the ball, the Bison will win 24-20.
All right, Swanee, you're usually right, and it's a hard thing to be always right. But I'll tell you what. When I need advice about the Bison in particular, I come to you. Who wins that UND game?
UND is going to win that football game. Their offense is better. Missouri State's got a very, very good defense. They struggle offensively. UND wins that one. Same score, 24-20.
For those of us that love football, obviously we love Swanee. I'll give you some closing comments when we come back right here down the road.
Do you worry about going to the dentist? After all, a visit to the dentist can easily cost $2,000 or more. Well, relax. The Carefree dental card is now available in your area. Call now and we'll send your actual card at no cost today. With the Carefree dental card, you go to the dentist whenever you need and you instantly pay a lot less. Activate your card and you can start using it immediately. From exams and cleanings to more expensive procedures like crowns, dentures, even braces, they're all included with the Carefree dental card. Say you go to the dentist today without any card and your bill is, well, ouch. Wait a minute, let's try that again. You go to the dentist today and show your Carefree dental card, you save $525. The Carefree dental card is just $15.95 a month, so call now and make going to the dentist carefree.
Call 1-800-416-5739 to receive your Carefree dental card information kit. 1-800-416-5739. Call now.
I can't say enough good things about these nano hearing aids.
Real people talking about nano hearing aids.
The hearing quality is great.
Until now, hearing aids used to be too expensive for the average person. Until nano. Call now and you'll get your nano hearing aids for only $297. You'll save $100. When you buy one hearing aid, Nano will give you a second hearing aid free. Call right now.
1-800-213-3815.
Spas, etc. Yeah.
You've come to know and trust us for over 18 years with the largest selection and showroom in Western North Dakota for our beautiful Sundance spas. Plus, you could pick out your next home experience with our selection of pool tables, shuffleboards, and fun accessories.
Spas, etc. Your relaxation destination on Main and Bismarck.
Who do you trust with your digital life? Not all cloud backup providers keep your data truly private.
Beck Cloud Backup uses advanced multi-layer encryption to keep your family photos, videos, and sensitive business documents secure and only for your eyes. Your Beck Lightband Internet service already includes 50 gigs of free storage to keep your digital life safe and secure. Call us at 701-475-2361 to start using your Beck Cloud Backup today.
Attention! Have you or a loved one suffered from maculopathy, a serious retinal injury, after taking the prescription drug Almiron for interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome? In 2018, a researcher at the Emory School of Medicine linked Almiron, a prescription drug that treats interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome, to maculopathy, which is sight-threatening and can cause an abrupt change of vision. Call Almiron Justice for a free legal consultation.
Please call 800-395-5680.
You know, I just want to put this out there. So many of the people that are watching this right now have chosen not to be vaccinated. I think you got to rethink that. I really do. Now, I realize some of those individuals, maybe yourself, didn't want to go through the hassle of setting up the appointment and doing all of those type of things. That you will get vaccinated, or you're not afraid to get vaccinated, but it was the process that got you. Well, it's open. It's open to everybody, 16 years of age and up. It's open. The other night, I stopped in Morton, North Dakota for a beer on my way home. I went to Antelope Creek, which, by the way, is a great spot. If you're ever in the Morton area, stop in. And the community center there, the cars were lined up, and it looked like there was a funeral in town. You know what that's like in small towns, where, you know, or either that or a smoker at the hall. But there were a lot of people in town, and some of those individuals that I saw walking into that hall stopped up at the creek later on. And I said, what was going on? He said, well, we're getting our shots. Now, the two individuals that I was sitting with and BSing with, those two individuals are probably the most conservative individuals you're going to find in the state. So I asked them, you know, are your buddies doing this? And they went, we're doing it. We're doing it because we know that we need it. And one of them had heard that I had COVID, and they knew what I went through. So just do it. Just do it. Let's get this nation back opened up. I mean, from Ed Schaefer to John Hoven to Kelly Armstrong to Doug Burgum to, I can keep going down the list of individuals. For those of you on my side of the aisle, to Heidi Heitkamp, you know what? We're getting vaccinated. I hope you do too. Let's get this country back opened up. It's always good riding with you right here as we go down the road.